Handicapping.com.
Welcome back on pregame.com. I'm Pauly Howard. That's Teddy Covers. We'll get to week 17 coming up. It's emotional. Season's almost over. I can't believe it. We'll get must-win against must-win teams and playing for seeding coming up. But first, let's start with the bowl matchups and what happened last Saturday. All the moves and the money coming in on all these teams was all wrong.
That's not unusual, Paul. And people always think, oh, the wise guys know this, the wise guys know that. Any wise guy will tell you they're looking to win 55% long term. You win 11 out of 20, you're making money. So wise guy's going to be wrong all the time. There's going to be money coming in that's wrong. There's going to be wrong moves. There's going to be wrong sides. They're going to lose, in a perfect world, 9 out of 20. Mm-hmm. People think the wise guys win every game. It doesn't work that way. The wise guys look to exploit little edges over time. Little edge, 55 versus 45. And over time, that's a significant edge. You can get rich winning 55% of your bets over the long term. So to say, all right, all these line moves lost in the hours, and we're talking about the late line moves and the early line moves for the opening weekend of bowl season, that is not unusual. And I would say if you fade every line move in a bowl game, let's say anything that's 2 points or more, you're going to make money. The bettors are going to be wrong, not all the time, but a significant enough proportion of the time that there's money to be made. And we saw silly. I mean, whoever's betting Colorado State against Utah, they didn't read any local papers. They didn't pay any attention to what's going on behind the scenes. They're just betting stats. So many of these line moves are based on stats, and college football stats, burn them. They're not going to do you any good. Every stat's factored into the line, and the more you look at those numbers, the more they're going to mess you up. There is one stat that matters: strength of schedule. And that's easy enough. You look it up. Yep. It's not your own little algorithm that's going to tell you, oh, Colorado State deserves to take money, or South Alabama. Whoever's betting South Alabama, we talked about it last week. They installed a new offense a week and a half before the game. How do you lay points? More than a field goal with that team. So I'm not surprised that the line moves were wrong. And again, I would anticipate more wrong line moves before this bowl season is done.
Okay, week 17 now. How do wise guys and how do you attack week 17 where who needs it for motivation, who needs it for seeding, and it must win all that business?
Well, let's start with the seeding issues, because we have all these seeding games. We have Detroit Green Bay is a seeding game. Denver Oakland is a seeding game this week. Cincinnati Pittsburgh a seeding game. St. Louis Seattle a seeding game. Historically, teams playing for improved playoff positioning, whether the first round bye versus playing in the wild card round, or a team that has a 6 seed now and they're trying to move up to the 5, or the 4 seed and trying to move up to the 3. There's no correlation between teams playing for seeding and point spread success. Zero. Yet the markets will often factor into the equation. Oh, well, the Lions-Packers, a must-win game for both teams, or Denver-Oakland. Denver's got something to play for. Oakland doesn't. The seeding is just not a huge motivator for teams, and the markets always price it in. The most basic concept in sports betting, in any market-based activity, is buy low, sell high. And you know what? You're just not getting a chance to buy low on any team that's in a must-win situation, even if their opponent is, just playing out the string. Okay.
Must-win against must-win.
Well, we've got a couple of those this week. We have the Chargers versus the Chiefs. We have the Panthers versus the Falcons. The Panthers-Falcons is the most simple one because the winner's in and the loser's out. For San Diego, KC, if San Diego wins, they're in. If KC wins, they need help to get in. A lot of help, yeah. But in both of these ball games, where there's, in theory, equal motivation for both sides, you're not seeing the must-win element priced in the same way as you do in the matchups where one team has, in theory, something to play for, the other team not so much. That being said, my general rule of thumb, and many of the sharp bettors that I know whose general rule of thumb for these games, you want to take points. Yep. You want to take points, not lay them. The teams that are at home in these must-win games, in this situation, it's Atlanta and Kansas City. The reason they're a must-win in Week 17 is because they're decidedly mediocre. They've been mediocre all year, and maybe I'm giving Atlanta too much credit here.
Yeah.
But then again, let's not forget, the Falcons or the Panthers, either one of them is going to be favored in their first-round playoff game against Arizona. You know, so for as mediocre as they've been, they will be chalk in the postseason.
Atlanta just buried Arizona, and that was with Stanton. Now, what if Thomas is the quarterback or Lindley? Oh, my God.
I'm saying that the number is, it's going to be very clear. You know, I don't think there's any question that sub-500 team will be home favorites as the 4 seed against Arizona as the 5 seed. But in general, in these type of contests, when you're talking about laying any type of a premium with a must-win team, they're must-win because they're mediocre at best. Those aren't teams I like to lay points with. And, of course, the dog in those games, San Diego and Carolina, you know, both live dogs in my opinion.
Okay, one more, and here's just must win. And this is where you're right with the great value. The public gets involved. The line gets jacked up. There's a lot of pressure on the team that has to win. The other team comes in loosey-goosey, nothing to play for.
Loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey. You saw it last year. I mean, the Chargers go off a 17-point favorite against the Kansas City backups. Had to have the game to get in. Just to be in that position was incredible. Baltimore lost their last 2. Miami lost their last 2. Miami lost at home to the Jets. And Kansas City takes the field 17. You know the game well. 17-point favorite against the backups. They need a field goal, a missed field goal at the gun to beat KC, and they have to win in overtime by 3. Lucky to win the game.
Just look at last week. Where here's Buffalo coming in with everything to play for and all the momentum, and they're going against Oakland, who's just playing out the string. And what happened? You know, the Raiders caught a break with the Kyle Orton turnover in the red zone, and otherwise the game might have gone very differently. And once they got that momentum, it was all Oakland the rest of the way. You know, Buffalo played like the team, but the stick up their ass, and then Oakland played loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
And we'll see a lot of that. You know, there's 2 games like that this week where the Texans are laying double digits to the Jaguars, Baltimore, Cleveland. That line's sitting at 8.5 right now, 8.5, 9 right now. And note that they're both divisional games. You hate your divisional opponents more than anyone else. And there's nothing you'd rather do as a loosey-goosey underdog than keep your divisional opponent out of the playoffs. That's your dream scenario if you're not in yourself. So, you know, we talk about the Jags and the Browns. We're not talking about elite-level NFL teams by any stretch of the imagination. But you know that the markets are going to price Houston and Baltimore appropriately, per se, which means you're laying a little bit of an extra tax to support either one of those 2 teams. The Texans in particular, not a team I want to lay double digits with. You know, Baltimore, I wouldn't be surprised to see Baltimore bounce back and kick the snot out of Cleveland.
Right.
I haven't seen a lot of life out of Cleveland, but we talk about laying double digits with the Texans and Case Keenum at quarterback against a Jaguar team playing with momentum. This whole momentum argument's so nonsensical. But the Jags won last week, so they're playing with momentum. You know, in my mind, Jacksonville might be worth a look in that game.
How about these games that don't mean anything? Are you going to get involved? How about Belichick already? Nothing's changed for us. I don't care Denver lost. We're still going out there trying to kick Buffalo's ass.
And it's hysterical because you go back and look at the history of Bill Belichick in Week 17, particularly when his team has a bye coming up. He doesn't take his foot off the gas pedal, ever, in this situation. He's not resting starters. The Patriots are going to come to play. Buffalo just got eliminated last week. You're getting literally a touchdown break in the line. The line with the look-ahead line was 10.5 for New England. Now it's 3.5 as we record this on the week before the game. So you're getting a full touchdown break on the line, and the Patriots are going to be every bit as excited and motivated and come to play every bit as much as they would have had they needed this win to clinch the home field. New England, each of the last 4 years, Week 17 at home against an AFC East foe, and they haven't just beaten, they've killed them every single time. Winning by last year was the closest. It was a 2-touchdown win. The 3 years before that, they won every year by 3 or 4 scores. Yeah, I think the Patriots. I expect them to be on my card on Sunday.
Cutler's back for Chicago.
Ooh.
I don't know why they don't play Fales. Let's see if the kid from San Jose State can play.
He can't.
Okay, well.
That's why.
I can't imagine Philly's up for the game against the Giants, and I don't know what. You think the Colts have to come out and try after what they did against Dallas, treated the game like a preseason game. They want to take on the Titans. The Titans don't want to win that game. They want to get a top 2 pick.
Yeah, and I think Indy's in a great spot this week. In particular, when we talk about the factors that are in play for the Colts last week versus this week, last week, everybody's banged up. Lots of guys sat out the second half. It started bad. It got worse. And Pagano pulled the plug very, very early in
It was almost like, we'll try the fake punt. If it doesn't work, we're out of here. And that's what happened.
I mean, literally, yeah. And, well, the fake punt worked.
It did work. I got to catch that.
Oops.
Yeah.
But now, Indy's got no bye. You know, that's a done deal now.
And locked into the 4 seed.
So that means they have to play next week, which tells us that they're likely to play this week as well. From the first reports that I'm reading is that the Colts are coming to play. And as you mentioned, Tennessee, not a team that's scrapping and clawing to try to win every game. They'd much rather have one of the top 2 draft choices and get a chance to pick their quarterback of the future.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's always fun, man. We must-win games, you know. Must-win games doesn't mean as much as the talking heads on TV will have you believe.
Yes, there it is, Week 17. A lot going on Sunday in the NFL. We'll see you next time on pregame.com.